guys? This is part 4 to my Errata some skills video. If you'd like to see parts 1, 2, or 3, I'll leave the link to those in the description down below. But with that out of the way, let's continue this video, shall we? Ritual of Black Mastery. Activate the skill during your main phase while you control Black Luster Soldier or Magician of Black Chaos that your ritual summoned this turn. While you control BLS, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's skills. Also, once per turn, if your opponent activates Trap, draw one card immediately after it resolves. While you control Magician of Black Chaos, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's spell effects. Also, if your Magician of Black Chaos destroys a monster by battle, add one spell from your grave to your hand. I like this because it's similar to how Demok is, which is the counterpart to this. It's like the retrain almost. This effect's a little bit more random. Like, if you have Black Luster Soldier, it doesn't die by your opponent's skill, and if your opponent activates a trap, you can draw one card. Why not make this similar to how BLS Envoy of the Beginning works? Like, not insanely, but like, either you get the second attack with it, or if that's too good, you get to banish a monster once per duel. I don't know. I just think this is so random. Like, if you're gonna make it so it can't be destroyed by your opponent's skill, just make it unaffected by your opponent's skill. Because Inner Conflict doesn't give a crap about that part right there. Royal Flush. Once per turn, if you control Queen's Knight, you can pay 1,000 life points to normal summon one King's Knight in addition to your normal summoner set. King's Knight and Jack's Knight you control cannot attack directly the turn you use the skill. Alright, I got this for you. This is much easier, alright? Screw this life point thing, once again. And once per turn, if you control Queen's Knight, you get to special summon either King's Knight or Jack's Knight from your hand, deck, or grave. If you control King's Knight, you get to special summon Queens or Jacks from your hand, deck, or grave. And if you control Jacks, you get to special summon Kings or Queens from your hand, deck, or grave. Boom. Solve the card. Also, for anyone being like, ah, but you don't pay anything for that, who cares? I mean, unless we get the new support cards from King's Court in this set anytime soon, it doesn't matter. Servants of the Fallen King. Once per turn, you can send a level 3 or lower normal zombie monster from your deck to the grave. Because it has to be a normal monster, why does it say level 3 or lower? Why not just make it any normal zombie? Is it too good? Maybe with Haunted Shrine? Alright. Well, then leave it how it is. Shadow Reborn. Activate the skill during your main phase. Once per turn, you can pay half your life points and special summon one monster from either graveyard, but your opponent takes no battle damage for the rest of the turn. Guys, it's literally Monster Reborn. You pay half. It's always live, but it's Monster Reborn. I think this card's perfectly fine. It being able to always be active is fine, because it's Monster Reborn. But your opponent takes no damage for the rest of the turn, because it's Monster Reborn. I don't have a problem with this card. Spell of Mask. Activate the following skills. If a ritual summoned the Masked Beast you control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon Masked Beast Discardius from your hand, deck, or graveyard, ignoring its summoning conditions. You contribute one Masked Beast Discardius, then add one The Masked Beast and one Curse of the Masked Beast from your deck and or grave to your hand. Each of these skills can only be used once per duel. I think this skill is perfectly fine. Spellproof Armor. Activate the skill during your main phase. All machine monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's spell effects. You can normal summon machine normal monsters with one less tribute. If a non-machine monster is in your graveyard, flip this skill over. This skill can only be used once per duel. So this card's really good. And this card's been really good for a long time. This skill has an insane first effect. This card has a solid second effect. And it has a solid drawback. Again, similar to Nightmare Sonic Blast and Night of Legend, I think this is perfectly fine. Even though the fact that it works for all machines makes it clearly better than the other two that I just mentioned, you can't play non-machines in this deck. You can't play Sphere Karibo. You can't play generic monsters like Breaker the Magical Warrior. I think this is fine. For now. But I do see, in the future, this potentially getting out of hand. So, we'll keep an eye on it. Straight to the Grave is a field spell. Put it outside the game. Switcheroo. Activate the skill during your main phase. Once per turn, you can shuffle one card from your hand into the deck, then draw one card. Also flip this card over. You can use this effect up to twice per duel. Every time I play this card, I say it should be 3 times per duel. I don't know if this card warrants the change just for that. At the very least, I wish you just drew a card before you shuffled, instead of shuffling it back in and then potentially drawing the same card again. Terror from the Deep. Activate the skill during your main phase while you control Kaioshin. While this skill is activated, you can activate Yumi directly from your hand, deck, or grave. While you control Kaioshin, all water monsters you control are unaffected by trap effects. If Kaioshin you control leaves the field, draw 2 cards, and if you do, flip this card over. Again, have no problem with this skill. They make the skills for the specific monsters really dumb, but you have to play those specific monsters. And all 3 of those specific monsters I've named so far are all normal monsters that you really normally wouldn't play. So, the Psychic Duelist. Activate one of the following skills during your main phase by paying half your life. Target one set card in your opponent's spell and trap zone and declare one card type, monster, spell, or trap. Then reveal the face down card, and if it's the declared type, it cannot be activated this turn. I don't like paying half my life points for something that isn't actually netting me advantage, it just nets me stun. Randomly select one card in your opponent's hand and declare one card type, monster, spell, or trap. Then reveal the card. if it's the declared card, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. You don't gain any advantage, you just keep paying half your life points to stun or do a little bit of burn. I would have just changed this to the same way this is played, where they just can't use that card. Like, keep it revealed, and then they can't use it, I don't know, the next turn, the next turn, I don't know, something like that, maybe? Yeah, whatever. The world's greatest fisherman. God, there's so many water skills. Once per turn, you can pay 500 life points and discard a water monster, then add a water monster from your grave to your hand with a different name, and with a level no more than twice the discarded monster's level. If you do that, flip this card over. This card's cool. I don't think you need to pay 500. You're already discarding a water. Yeah, I understand you're hitting a water from a grave to your hand whose level is no more than twice, but that does matter depending on what you're playing. Maybe add the generic water monsters that aren't affected by trap effects to this one. I mean, we have spellproof armor for machine. Why can't waters get the unaffected by traps ability? Thousand Eyes spell. Activate this skill during your main phase. Once per turn, you can discard one card and use one of the following skills, but you cannot conduct your battle phase this turn. Ritual summon one relinquished from your hand by attributing a monster from your hand or field with a level 1 or more. Also flip this over. Fusion summon a Thousand Eyes restrict from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. Also flip this card over. The reason I never play this in relinquished is because of this effect right here. You already have to discard, okay? Not getting your battle phase means the advantage you just gained by dropping these only comes in the sucking up effect of either one of these, but you not getting a battle phase ruins that, in my opinion. I don't know what I'd change it to. Maybe not doing damage. That way, then the relinquish that absorbs something can run something else over. I'm not sure, but I feel like this should either be changed to they take half the amount of battle damage for the rest of the turn, or they take no battle damage, not you don't get a battle phase. However, I'd stamp this battle phase effect on something else that I'll come up to in a second. Tomb of the Pharaoh. This card's name is treated as Necro Valley. All Gravekeeper monsters on the field gain 200 attack and defense. Make it a field spell. Keep it outside the game. Alright. Toon Mayhem. The first time each Toon World in your spell and trap zone would be destroyed each turn, it is not destroyed. How about just if I don't know, the first 2 times Toon World would leave the field, it doesn't? A little more generic, because Cosmic Cyclone just gets right around this. Tribal Synergy. If you have an Amazoness monster and a Harpy monster in your hand, reveal them and draw 1 card. If you control an Amazoness monster and a Harpy monster, draw 2 cards. Each of these skills can only be used once per duel. Card's fine. Twist of Personality. Each time a player loses life points, place 1 counter on this card, max 3. Once per turn during your main phase, you can use one of the following skills. Remove 2 counters from this card, then discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand. Remove 3 counters from this card. Destroy 1 face-up card your opponent controls. I really want to say that if you use one of these 2 skills, you can't use it your next turn, but I don't know if that makes this card terrible or not. I feel like it justifies it, but I could be wrong. Union Combination. Activate the skill during your main phase. Once per turn, you can fusion summon 1 light machine fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your graveyard or field as fusion material. For the rest of the turn, your opponent takes no damage. No. This should be what I just said. This should be you cannot conduct your battle phase this turn. Because the fact that this deck allows you to fuse from the graveyard after your monster's been destroyed, and then not only summon usually XYZ Dragon Cannon, pop cards on your opponent's board, and then allow XYZ to run something else over is not fair. You shouldn't be getting that much free advantage for it. Changing it to you don't get a battle phase, I think the card is still dumb, but it balances it out a lot more. You do that, I think this card is fine. Otherwise, I think this card is just a little oppressive. The fact that you're summoning a monster through it so your opponent can't respond to it because skills don't start a chain is already nuts. The fact that you can fusion summon any light machine fusion monster means it's not limited to XYZ monsters, so eventually, actually thinking about it like that, Cyber Dragons eventually will be really dumb with this. You shouldn't get a battle phase. Because imagine, just imagine, you go into the future, the skill stays exactly the same, and you're fusing Cyber Dragons from your graveyard and making Cyber Twin, and then Cyber Twin runs over 2 monsters. Ah, cool, they don't take damage, but who cares? You just gained them so much advantage. No, don't give them a battle phase, please. Viral Infection. Once per turn, discard any number of cards and declare 1 type of card, monster, spell, or trap. Your opponent sends 1 card of the declared type from their deck to the grave for each discarded card. If you do that, flip this card over. I think it's perfectly fine. And finally, Zombie Master. I really hate that they made Zombie Master a skill and not a monster, because eventually, as a monster, I still don't think it would be an absolute insane card. Maybe I'm wrong, depends on what we have for zombies. Activate this skill during your main phase. Once per duel, you can choose one level 4 or lower zombie monster you control. It gains the following effect while it's face up on the field. You basically make it Zombie Monster. Once per turn, you can send one monster from your hand to the grave, and then target a level 4 or lower zombie in either grave. Special summon the target. This monster must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. This right here. Just change it to 2 or 3 times. Just don't. Why? And that's my changes in a nutshell. But as you can see, this is why I voted for don't change anything. The only thing I would change, and I don't know if this could be allowed, is re-rule it so that field spells or continuous spells, the skills that start technically on the field, get rid of that clause. Make them stay outside the game. In which case you'd have to, reprint Toon World and Call the Haunted and Heavy Metal Raiders and such. But those things should stay outside the game. I've been preaching that since the beginning. But changing individual cards every single time just causes this catastrophe where if it was a digital game, if this is a digital game, and it is, it's called Duel Links, but if Speed Duels itself was its own digital game, it'd be fine to errata all of these things, because everyone gets the change immediately, and then they don't have to go out and get it, and they don't have to not know it exists, and blah blah blah. Then it's fine. But because it's a tangible game, because you have to go out and re-get all of these, unless you put all of the reprinted ones in the same battle box, and I don't know, maybe hand out replacements for the ones that cost money. I'm not sure. That's too much work in my opinion. You'd have to put them all in the same spot, and then you'd have to advertise it. Like you'd have to have the box say the skills that all revised skills in this box or something like that. Then maybe. But as far as monster spells and traps go, just give us a ban list. Don't give us the Duel Links crap. And also, don't leave it the way it is. Union Scramble really needs to go to 1. If not, get banned. But guys, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Leave them in the comments down below. Comment, like, and subscribe as always. Are you happy I did this in a couple parts of a video instead of one video? Because let's be fair, if it was one video, the video would be 1,000,000 minutes long. And I know everyone already complains that my videos are 1,000,000 minutes long. Don't worry, I rewatch my videos and I'm like, God, I gotta watch this whole thing. So we're gonna keep trying shorter videos from now on. But guys, Speed Duels is promising. We've got Konami. Konami actually asked us our opinion on stuff. That's a promising future, if you ask me.